Hi guys, welcome to week 8. I hope everyone's doing well. Your discussion board for this unit, you're going to explain how the concepts and principle of this course will continue to inform your work as it relates to self-care, SEL, and for those of you that are unfamiliar with that term, that means social and emotional learning and cultural humility, diversity as a practitioner. So how will everything that we've talked about, that you've read about, that you've learned, continue to inform your work, right, as it relates to those things. So that is your discussion for the unit. When we're talking about SEL, that's the process of developing self-awareness, self-control, and those interpersonal skills that are vital for school, work, and life success. Okay, so those are the things we're looking at. We're looking at relationship skills. We're looking about responsible decision making. We're looking at self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, all of those things. So just keep that in mind as you are responding to the post. Um, Here are your readings for the week. You're doing chapter 17 of Bailey and Birch and pages 9 through 18 of your ethics code for behavior analysts. Chapter 17 is about reporting of behavior analysts, which is what we're going to go over today. So this is our last week together. So as a reminder, you have your SAFMETS assignment, you have your ASRs, you have to send me the link to your portfolio. Please make sure that it is not set to private. You have your signature assignment, you have your final exam, and you have your SAFMETS video. Tech support is working on opening up the midterm so that you guys have access to those questions. Your final exam is 20 questions. It's worth 20 points, right? You have 40 minutes to complete it. It's a mixture of multiple choice and true false questions. Okay, so it's going to contain some of the questions that you already took on your pretest and your midterm, as well as a bunch of novel questions. So your portfolio. Okay, these are the 5 documents that you need to submit into your portfolio. After the items are uploaded, please send me that link to your portfolio. If you are uncertain how to do that, the instructions can be found in the course, as well as how to upload those documents into the portfolio. And as a reminder, please make sure that your portfolio is not set to private. Otherwise, I can't view it and I get a little error message that says this is no humans allowed or something similar. Okay, so please make sure that you have that set to public. Here are the steps on how to change your portfolio to public, as well as how to share your portfolio with me for those of you that need a little refresher. Your signature assignment has 2 components, okay? The first component is going to be the visual analysis of all the data that you collected, as well as the outcomes throughout the course. And then the second part is going to focus on some guided questions that are provided to you to help you in explaining your analysis and your reflection of your data. Okay, so please make sure that you review the assignment instructions and the rubric to make sure that you meet all the criterion for this assignment. Okay, make sure it's APA formatted, make sure you have your title page, your reference page. Part 1 should be 1 to 2 pages, and then part 2 should be a total of 3 to 6 pages. So your paper should be no less than 6 pages. So part 1, okay, you're going to put all the data that you collected and your standard acceleration charting from your SAFMEDS, and make sure that it's formatted in the order that's listed on this slide. Please note that in order to complete this assignment, you have to have already completed your final exam. Okay, so make sure you do that first before you can complete your signature assignment. Part 2. Okay, this is the data analysis portion and talking about the interventions that you implemented. So you're going to include your baseline, your interventions and your adjustments, your data collection, your goals, and your next steps. Okay, so like I said, please make sure that you take a look at the rubric and the assignment instructions on how you're going to get graded for your assignment. And again, it will go over everything that you need to include in there. All right, let's talk about how to report a behavior analyst. If you are aware of an alleged violation. Okay, so anyone can report a violation. It could be a BACB applicant, it could be your certificate, it could be an RBT applicant, it could be an RBT, someone that's already certified as an RBT, it could be someone that's an approved ACE provider. Okay, filing a notice of a violation can have serious repercussions, okay, for the individual, for the clients involved, for colleagues, for the company, and possibly the person filing the notice. So we're going to talk about the steps that need to be taken before you come to the conclusion that it is warranted to file this notice of this violation. Okay, reputations could be damaged. There could be repercussions for current and future employment for those involved. On this slide is a link to the site with some information on how to file that violation. It discusses the steps that you need to take. It answers some frequently asked questions. There's a sample affidavit on this site, as well as an estimate for the timeline for processing a violation. Okay, we went over this when we looked at code 3. Okay, so clients and supervisees, they must be informed of their rights, and the procedures on how to file a complaint. Okay, and that would be under the service agreement, right? So before implementing services, a behavior analyst ensures that there is a signed service agreement with the client and or relevant stakeholders outlining the responsibilities of all partners, the scope of the behavioral services to be provided, the behavior analyst obligations under this code, and their procedures for submitting complaints. Again, this is signed by all parties involved, and this is something that must be completed prior to the start of services. So what are the steps? Well, there's 7 of them. Lucky number 7, right? Step 1, consumers or supervisees, right, or stakeholders, they're advised to attempt to address the concern directly with the behavior analyst, and if possible, right? So that's an informal resolution. Ask if you observed the incident directly, ask some simple questions about the incident, right? The information that you're basing this off of, it can't be rumors, right? It can't be heard from someone else. It must be something that you saw directly, right? So you can ask something like, hey, can you help me understand XYZ, right? So, and if the analyst has a satisfactory response, then there's no need to move on to step 2. Okay, so the first step is try to resolve it amicably between yourselves. Step 2, right, if after this conversation you still feel that there's a violation, right, make sure that the person is covered by the BACB, right? If they're in the managerial position, if they're OT, if they're PT, right, they're not covered by our board, right? So make sure you check on the registry, the BACB website, check the registry, make sure they're listed there. Okay, step 3, you must cite the specific code number that you believe is involved in the violation. Okay, so find that code, right? You must include that in your complaint. You're going to need to produce a hard copy of a behavioral program, right? A data sheet, email exchange, audio or videotape, whatever it is that violated that code, right? You need to produce some hard documentation. You must attach that documentation to the notice when you're filing the complaint. Time frame. You can't file a violation if it's older than 6 months. Okay, so a year later, you'll be like, oh, I never filed that violation against Mary Jo. Let me take care of that now. Too late. There's a statute of limitations at 6 months, right? So you can't file any violation that's older than 6 months. Step 6, report to other agencies first, right? So there's some violations that should be reported to another agency first, right? If you observed an analyst hit a child, right, and it's on video, report them to the police first, right, before you contact the boards, right? If the state that you're living in has state licensure for the BCBA, report them to the licensing board first. Okay, so make sure you're aware of, what your state regulations are, if there's state licensure and all that stuff, okay? Because you may need to report to another agency first. Step 7 then, if you've exhausted all those steps, okay, step 7 is report the violation directly to the BACB. Okay, so if you do file to another agency first, right, and they determine that there is an ethics violation, then that information can be sent to the BACB for proper disposition, right? So once a notice is filed, it will go to the ethics board, the ethics department of the BACB. Okay, once the notice is received, right, it's routed to either disciplinary action, like the disciplinary review committee, or the educational review committee. So based on where that violation falls, they're going to filter it to the correct party, and then that department has a series of steps that they need to take. Here's a timeline on what that will look like, right? So let me put on my glasses because I cannot see, right? So the first step, right, step 1, could you address the individual directly, right, and correct the issue? If yes, that you do not need to move on, right? But if no, then you follow the next steps, right? So this is just a breakdown of all the steps in a different format. And here's the timeline, right? So from day 1, right, when your notice is filed, when your notice is submitted, it will take about 31 days. Okay, so you file your notice, you receive an automated confirmation that it's been received, right? Then the BACB ethics department receives that confirmation. They have up to 15 days to decide if they're going to move forward or not. Okay, if they decide not to move forward, they're going to inform you that your notice is declined. The process comes to an end. If they decide that they're going to move forward, and remember they have 15 days to decide this, the subject's going to receive a copy of the notice, the supporting documents, and a chance to respond within 15 days, right? So the person that the alleged violation is against, they're going to receive that documentation, that information, and they have 15 days to respond. Okay, and then after that time, if we're still going to move forward, then the notice is routed, right? And the BACB contacts the parties to discuss updates and actions. Okay, so then the violation goes into the processing stage. All right, so this week was rather short. We just needed to talk about those little things. Your ASR is very short. I know you guys have a lot of other work to do this week. So your ASR is simple, right? What class are you taking next term? All right, guys, all the best in your future endeavors. I enjoyed having you in class. I enjoyed teaching you all about ethics as it relates to our field. If you have any questions, please send me an email. Good night.